Hey guys, it's Cass the Gaymer, and I am back with another Crux game. This one is called Umbra Mortis. It is about, I think, like an infection, maybe pandemic type thing. So yeah, we're gonna check that out. Oh my. Okay. I am dying. Same, bro. I can feel the disease working in my body. Malignant cells ravaging my insides, a raging biofire consuming my flesh and polluting my blood. It's spreading fast, leaving necrotic flesh in its wake, a deepening shadow inside me. The pain is huge at times, unpredictable, shooting through my body in bright, brittle bolts that leave me gasping for breath despite the painkillers. It's a relentless, monstrous ailment, and it's devastated my life. I don't know how much time I have left. The doctors refuse to say. They tell me that life expectancy predictions aren't known yet for this disease and that there are too many parameters. They want me to fight it, but I don't think I have much fight left. Maybe it's because I've accepted the inexorably of my sickness and thus the inevitability of my fate. Or maybe it's because I don't have much time left to live for anyway. 8 months ago, I was a healthy and unsuspecting 25-year-old. I worked a deadbeat 8-hour gig as an accountant in a struggling software distribution firm. I detested the work. It was mind-numbing drudgery, but jobs were scarce at the time, and there were others who could have been happy to take my place. I had begun my career a year earlier in a nosediving economy, fresh out of college, armed with only a bachelor's in finance in naive optimism. I was saddled with loans. My ma, the only family I had, passed away a year earlier after a long, bitter fight with cancer, and the insurance had only gone some way. I also had an education loan. I lived in a tiny studio apartment that I could barely afford in the most crowded part of the city. Life was stressful, to say the least. If you told me then that in less than a year I would lose my health and nearly my mind to a fatal illness, I would have laughed bitterly. And then there was my relationship with Anita. We'd met at university. She'd been doing a degree in mass communications and journalism. Looking back, it seems that we had gravitated to one another naturally. She comes from a lower middle class background, like me, and we understood each other's aspirations and fears. Money, or rather the lack thereof, health and insurance, jobs and stability. We'd grown up seeing adults fretting constantly over these things. Some of them, like our parents, managed to stay afloat, while others sank, swallowed by the maw of poverty. She had emotional baggage and troubles of her own, a burdensome narcissistic mother, among other things, but Anita was the brightest person I'd ever met. She was perhaps the only good thing that happened in my life, but I didn't know it then. Things were getting shaky. A year into our relationship, it's not working. We're not working. And I get this feeling that you don't want it to work, that you're doing everything you can to sabotage us. No, that's not true. I'm not imagining it. You're practically pushing me out without saying it outright. I know you have a lot of stress, but that's all the more reason for us to pull together. It helps if you talk about it instead of withdrawing and keeping all that stuff bottled in. Okay, I'll try. Honey, I'm sorry, maybe you are trying, but when I'm here, do you realize that you barely look at me? It's like you're lost somewhere inside yourself. I know that losing your ma hit you hard, and I know you have a lot going on, but pushing me away, pushing me out, is not helping us. I'm sorry. I know you are, honey, but I think maybe we only know the value of what we have when we don't have it. My mother used to treat me like crap. Nothing I did could ever make her happy, but now that I'm not with her, she hovers over me every day. I'm not your mother. No, you're not, and that's not what I meant. We should take a break until you figure out what's eating you and what you really want. Oh, no. No, Anita, don't leave me. That must have been one of our last conversations before I got sick. It's strange. Now that I'm dying, I've realized she was right. Whenever I think of her, I regret that I didn't see how lucky I was to have her. I regret that I wasn't a better man, more forgiving, more forthcoming. If I knew that I was going to be dealt this card, I would have held on to her and never let go. I know now that I love her, and that it's too late. But I'm also glad that we fell apart before I fell ill. How much worse it would have been for her to be saddled with a dying lover. When Anita learned I was sick, she came back into my life as a concerned friend. She visits me here at the hospital, but I discourage her from coming. The terminal wing of the hospital is a dreary place. Death lurks in every corner, in every shadow. Besides, I don't want her to remember me like this. I want her to remember me the way I was before I was diminished by this monstrous illness. I don't want her to be burdened by the thing that I've become. She shouldn't have to walk in the shadow of death. When the disease hit me and smashed apart my life, I sunk into an abyss, an endless darkness in which I came close to going insane. I asked all the usual questions. Why me? I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a serial killer or a rapist or a pedophile. I may not be a saint, but I'm not evil, so why was I struck with this? But I had no one to ask these questions. Since I didn't believe in God, I could only turn inward, sinking deeper and deeper into the abyss. I wondered, is this body all I am? What happens when I die? Where do I go? Does my life just end? Or do I have a soul? An immaterial, infinite other that lives on? But there were no answers. Good morning. I'm so sorry, but we're going to have to wake you up. So, how are you feeling today? Dr. Suresh is a good man. I get the feeling that he really cares about his patients, that he sees them as people, fellow human beings who have gotten sick. Once, while he was talking to me about one of his patients who had passed away the night before, a 6-year-old child who had been in the terminal ward for 2 months, I saw his eyes fill with tears. I feel sorry for him sometimes. It can't be easy working with the terminally ill, watching your patients snatched away with impudence as you look on helplessly, your nostrums and your science useless abstractions. What does that do to a man when failure at your workplace is routine? What questions must he ask himself in the late hours of the night when sleep evades him? Who does he turn to? He once told me that doctors treat patients to the best of their abilities, but it's God who cures. That's not a good doctor, is it? That's not a good doctor. He's not a good doctor at all. He said that he's seen too much to believe that human beings can ever hold all of the universe's mysteries in their hands. It's like that old adage, the more you learn, the more you realize how little you know. Well, let's tell him we feel worse, which is the truth. I'm sorry to hear that, but I have some news that might make you feel better. Okay? It's about your test results. The scans are back from the labs. They indicate that the last batch of drugs we received from the NCDC Psych K, if you remember, is possibly having an effect. It's the latest formulation sent by the NCDC from their labs. I wish I could tell you that there's remission. There is, however, a slowing down of the cellular alteration. It's still too early to make any conclusions, though. We'll wait. We'll watch. Okay, what does it mean in terms of how long? We've talked about this. At this point, there's no accurate way to predict life expectancy. We're still figuring out the pathology of the disease. It could be weeks, months, maybe over a year. And there are too many parameters that seem to influence lifespan. It doesn't matter. No, it doesn't, because I want you to focus on getting better. I'll tell you when we've progressed a little more with the treatments. I've sent your blood samples back to the NCDC. They'll send back a fresh batch of Psych K with an upgraded genome target. We're only halfway through your treatment, remember. I want you to seize hope, to trust the process. Once we nail its pathology, we'll have a good shot at stopping it cold. I smiled, nod, and don't believe a word of what he's saying. I've seen the x-rays. The necrosis which began in my legs has spread into parts of my abdomen and is encroaching on my lungs, a dark shadow growing within. I want you to trust us. We're doing our best. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go. We've got our hands full. The nurse will come around to give you your morning doses. He leaves quickly, and I am alone once more. I seem to feel the disease moving within me as it makes its way into my belly, my lungs, towards my brain. I fall into a fitful sleep. I'm startled awake. It's late afternoon, and I hear the sounds of a ruckus outside my room. A commotion, and a snarling, like that of some enraged animal. I must be still asleep and dreaming. My dreams have grown so vivid as of late. After all, who would bring an animal into the terminal wing of a hospital? I try to sit up, but I can't. I'm so weak. I can feel the disease wreaking its dread destruction within me. I sense it coursing through my veins, a malignant other bent on my demise. I'm aware of it all the time, the shadow of death that stalks me. I rage against it, plead with it. I can't turn away from it. Not for a second. The odd noises pass quickly. I fall back into a restless sleep. Sorry, this dude just looks kind of funny. Hello, sorry to wake you. It's time for your evening doses. Nurse Bouvin, my regular nurse, and perhaps the coldest nurse on the planet. I have rarely seen him smile. He does his job diligently, but he resists all my attempts to have a conversation. Sometimes I catch him looking at me with an unreadable expression. What do I see in his eyes? Pity? I'm going to ask him if anything weird happened. He's silent for a moment. Not that I know of. I'm going to tell him I heard growling. It's probably the meds. Psych K is known to have strong side effects, including lucid, vivid dream states. Something about the way he responds, the shift in his tone, makes me wonder. I get the feeling that you're not telling me something. I'm sorry you feel that way, but I've told you what I can. I'm going to ask if I can see the doctor. I'll put a note in for the doc. He's on his rounds now, and he'll come see you after. The doc did mention that you were in a troubled frame of mind. I've added a sedative in your IV, which will help. You'll sleep like a log. That should help with the bad dreams. He leaves, and I am once more alone with my thoughts. To Dr. Suresh from Dr. Ramesh Nair, January 28th, 2048. We're working on the blood samples and we're almost done with the sequencing. Meanwhile, here's the info you requested. Good luck, though. This thing's been a real bitch to nail. The first recorded case was in Romania, the victim a man named Parlov G, who lived in one of the southern villages. One morning, his wife noticed odd bruises covering his back. He was the kind of man who wouldn't visit a doctor unless he was at death's door, she told reporters later. A few weeks later, he lost 10 kilos and was so weak he could barely walk. He was finally taken to a hospital, but his condition continued to deteriorate rapidly. They discovered that swaths of cells were dying for no apparent reason, necrosis spreading throughout his body. Its spread eventually caused catastrophic organ failure and then death. His body was burned immediately in fear of an outbreak, and his village was quarantined, but nothing happened. There was no outbreak. Whatever the disease was, it wasn't contagious, not in the way we understood contagion. The next case was reported a few weeks later in Mumbai, India, but at the time, nobody connected the two. It was only when the third case in Germany occurred that the disease control centers in each country galvanized into action and began to compare data. You know the rest. Its cellular structures mutating in every host, so we're still trying to lock down its pathology. Everyone thought it was bacterial at first, yet no known antibiotic could touch it. Then there was the genetic theory. Laughable, really. Its transmission is a mystery because there's only one way it can be transferred from one person to another: direct fluid transfusion into the bloodstream. Like AIDS, that disease from a bygone era. Hence, mass contagion isn't a concern. And you know how it got its name. The X-rays and CT scans, the spreading necrosis, it resembles a growing shadow. Hence the name, Umbra Mortis. So I guess shadow death, right? Is that right? Am I right on that? Hey, sleepyhead. I've been here for 20 minutes now. You were out like a baby. Seeing her fills me with conflicting emotions. Regret, desire, love, anger. When she was last here, I told her as coldly as I could to not visit again, but Anita isn't easy to dissuade. I'm gonna ask her why she came. Please don't start. Did you think I'd just disappear if you asked me to? It's 9:30 a.m. It's a Tuesday, so I know that she has to be at work by 9 a.m. for a team meeting she conducts. I'm gonna tell her she should go to work. Work can wait. I do too much of it anyway. I know you're being sweet, honey, like you always are. It's regretful that it took a terminal disease to make me realize I love her. On hindsight, the arguments we had and which I sulked over seemed trite and laughable now. I marvel at how stupid I was. Yet, in a bitterly iconic twist, I don't want her anywhere near me now. The disease is not contagious, but my misery might as well be. She deserves a wholesome life, not to be stuck in a room with a dying man. You're as stubborn as ever. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that. Yes, the sight of her moves me. I know that if I close my eyes, I'll see it. The abyss of what could have been. Anita as my wife, the two of us together, kids, a future. But I don't want to go there. I pull myself back from those thoughts with some effort. I've been in that abyss before, and I don't want to go back there again. There's no respite there, only endless, dark, and yammering questions and the ever-present threat of insanity. I'm going to ask her how her mother is. Maybe. Yeah. Well, it's the usual. Ups and downs. Mostly downs, though. She's not been talking to me for a week now, putting me through a guilt ringer because I forgot to call. Nothing new to report. She pauses, and I see a flicker of worry. But there is some weird stuff going on. Since you're not on the networks anymore, you aren't seeing the reports, the rising hysteria, the rumors that the number of people affected by Umbra Mortis is growing. I'm going to ask her if she thinks it's true. Well, I don't know. There's no official word from our government. The official line is that it's all normal and that spreading false rumors and creating panic is punishable by law. But on social media, everyone seems to know someone who's caught it, and they're not sure how it's spreading. When you got it 8 months ago, it felt like there was only a handful of people, right? Or so we thought. It felt like we just lucked out. An understatement. I didn't just feel like we lucked out. I slipped into the abyss, and there I thrashed and burned for weeks. But folks are saying that it was just not being reported, and that there's even more crazy rumors, that the disease is changing somehow. I've seen viral videos of... She falls silent. Videos of what? Actually, never mind, really. I don't think you need to bother with these things just now. Just focus on getting better. Thank God you're off the networks. It's all just alarmist, rabid noise anyway. Look, I gotta go. I'll see you soon. For reasons I can't explain, a sense of deep foreboding fills me. Within me, the disease continues its relentless passage, a malefic shadow cast upon my flesh. I wake up in the dark and I hear the strange noises again. A low animal growling. I must be dreaming. Of late, my dreams are getting more vivid. When I wake up, I can't remember what it was that I dreamt about, but I come awake sweating, terrified. I become fully aware of my dying body, of the thing within that is killing me. I can sense its desire to consume me from within, to chew through my flesh and escape into the world. It's insatiable. I can feel its dread hunger. Such hunger. All right, to Dr. Suresh from Dr. Ramesh. Could we not, think of other names? So the last 5 batches of random trials are all telling us the same thing, and it's scaring the hell out of us here. I can't tell you too much. Who knows? Even this network may be monitored. It's common knowledge that Umbra Mortis has been mutating, creating variants of itself in each successive host, manifesting differently. That's what made it impossible to target. You can't target a disease unless you have its genome locked down, but now the mutations are slowing down. In fact, there have been no mutations in the last 2 generations of the infected. That means we'll have a shot at an antigen. That ought to be good news, right? Well, it's not, because the last manifestation of Umbra Mortis in the human body, the final variant, if you will, is unlike anything we've seen before. The blood samples you sent us display the same variant. I'm sending you another batch of Psyche, which we've tried to modify to address this. I'll send you some more later. Meanwhile, be very careful. Ooh, okay. So it's like zombies. The doctor hasn't come in to see me today yet, which is uncharacteristic. I paged for the nurse to get me some water, and it's been an hour. Where's the doctor? I'm sorry, he's got his hands full today. All of us do. I'm going to put some sedative in your IV. That should help calm you down. No. What's going on? How do you mean? I'm going to ask him if it's true more people are contracting it. For a moment, he seems as if he will say something. Then, he simply leaves. Damn them. What's going on? I wake up with a start, aware that someone's in my room with me. I turn and see... Look, I was never here. I'm doing this because, well, I think you have a right to know. Things are getting out of control anyway, so all the bullshit about classified this and classified that, I don't even think it matters. I'll tell you this. They don't have anything under control. What do you mean? You asked me earlier about Umbra Mortis. What do you know about Umbra Mortis? I'm sure you've heard that it isn't contagious except through blood or cellular transfer, so you don't know how you got it. Nobody knows how it started either. What we do know is that it's causing necrosis within your body, the dead cells spreading until it destroys all major organs. In rare cases, it happens in days, but for most people it takes months, even years. We don't know why there is this variation. Okay, that's what I know, yeah. Right. Meanwhile, they've been trying really hard to identify its pathology, find a cure. There were a lot of mistakes. At one point, they even thought it was bacterial. Then they were saying it could be genetic. They said it could have been like a genetic time bomb, having lain dormant in the genome of certain individuals all along, finally triggered by some random juxtaposition of chemical events nobody can figure out. The NCDC were sequencing the hell out of its DNA. And that's how they figured the mutation thing. What's that? They observed that the disease was subtly changing itself within each generation of those infected. You could say that Umbra Mortis was evolving. Okay, evolving? I know how it sounds, but that's what they saw. Its pathology, its cellular construct was altering itself with each host. Okay, but that sounds like a virus. Yeah, that's what they said too. A strain that modifies the human genome and triggers a kind of genetic snowball effect. But viruses don't change so rapidly, so then the theories got crazier. There were whispers in some circles that it's an artificial construct, a genovirus cooked up in some subterranean government lab that somehow escaped. Okay, man-made. I know, biowarfare, tinfoil hat conspiracy theories, all the rest. The classic escaped man-made virus trope. And all the usual suspects started piping up, the church calling it an active god, just like they've done for every other inexplicable disease in history. And then there are the alien incursion theorists. They're calling it a deadly payload from the stars. Now in the latest update from the NCDC, they've observed that in the most recent batch of patients, including yourself, the mutations appear to have stopped. So that's a good thing, right? Yes, it is, but there's a complication. In the final variant of the disease, it appears Umbra Mortis causes cataclysmic changes to the cellular structure of the host, particularly in the central nervous system. We're not sure how it's causing those changes or how they're working. I can sense he's lying, hiding something from me. Before I can ask him, he leaves. Dr. Suresh from Dr. Ramesh. So I guess by now it's all out there, my old friend. I'm sorry we have to end our communications like this. I almost admire it, Umbra Mortis. It is devious, and if it is a created thing, well, it's been designed by a manic genius, a chemical coder par excellence, the devil himself. Or maybe the religious are right. Maybe this is the wrath of God. By the time you read this, you'll have already seen the transformations in the last batch of the infected. I'm sorry, but we have no more Psyche to send to you. You're just going to have to let things play out with your remaining patients. We still don't know how this originated, but we sure as hell know it was intended to spread. Oh god, do we know that now. Get away, Suresh. Get the hell away from there as soon as you can. Don't try to be a hero. Not this time. Ah, shit. Hello, I'm sorry to come to you like this. I've held out for a while, but I am obligated to let you know that the situation has changed. I don't know why I made him so happy. My sense of foreboding grows. I feel my skin burning up with a fever, yet when I raise my hand to my forehead, it's cool to the touch. Anxiety grips me, a near manic energy. Doc, what's going on? We've done our best, I want you to know that. We did everything we could. He seems to be talking more to himself than to me. I held out. Many didn't stay. The government declared an emergency and troops are moving into every major city. This is the last shot of Psyche I have, but there's something I need to tell you. Okay? The last few doses of Psyche, the last batches of the drug, weren't being administered to stop the necrosis. In fact, the necrosis caused by Umbra Mortis is irreversible and can't be stopped. The drug was being given to you to freeze the transformation that the final variant of the disease is causing. Now that we're out of the drug, based on the timelines we've seen in the others, you'll probably start seeing the changes in about 24 to 48 hours. I will administer this now and then leave. Okay, what kind of changes? I'm sorry. He injects a full vial of Psyche into my arm. I have no strength to move, and I wake up in the dark again to utter silence. Something is happening to me. Something is changing. I'm not sure what. I'm dying, aren't I? A dark fever grips me. It feels like there's a fire in me, an unquenchable, all-consuming fire that can never be put out. Will I simply burn up? I'm slipping in and out of wakefulness. Wake up! Wake up! I see her before me, and again I'm besieged by conflicting emotions. Desperation, rage, desire. I'm torn between wanting to tell her to go away and to beg her to stay. She seems so vivid, so alive. Okay, what are you doing here? I had to see you. Things are bad out there, really bad. What do you mean? I came here to tell you that I'm leaving. I have to go. Okay, where are you going? I have to leave town. They're saying there are camps up north, pockets of quarantined areas where the disease is not yet hit. There's a group of people leaving for it, and I have to go with them. But what's going on? The hospital staff have fled. The military is fast approaching the city, and they're enforcing a quarantine. There's only a few hours to get going, but I had to come see you one last time. I was hoping that you would still be here. Okay, I'm gonna tell her she shouldn't have come. I know that it was a risk coming here. I don't even know if I'll make it back. The roads are jammed up, there's chaos everywhere, and there's terrible stuff happening on the roads. I was nearly caught twice, but I had to come. I had to tell you before I left. If only I could take you with me, but I can't. Okay, but why? I'm so sorry. I love you so much. So this is it. And not in the way I had imagined. I should be feeling glad that she's leaving, but I'm not. Despite all my bravado and faux attempts at nobility, I despair at this turn of events. A part of me wants her so bad, and now that I know she's going, now that I know it's for real, the reality of it hits me. I try not to cry, but it's so hard. I don't want her to go, yet I want her to. I want her to be safe, yet I want her to be with me. The emotions threaten to tear me asunder. Looking at her, I no longer feel weak. In fact, in an odd way, I feel alive, as if the vibrancy of her being is crying out to me. I can almost hear her heart beating. I can almost hear the quickness in her breath. The fire that grips me rages, rises, and the incredible hunger roars up like a dark tide. Unable to help myself, I move towards her. She looks at me and I see a terrible thing in her eyes. I see fear. She leaves. I'm alone with the thing inside me, the shadow of death, the abyss of what might have been, the clawing, hungry, yammering thing that is burning me up within. How did I get here? What am I doing outside my room? I don't remember getting out of bed. I don't feel so weak anymore. Is that blood on the floor? Where is everybody? This must be some dream because I feel sprightly alive. Maybe the final stage of this disease brings vivid dreams like these. Let's just keep walking around. I walk down the hallway. A trail of blood leads out of my room to my left. What happened here? This doorway to my right is slightly ajar. It appears to lead into a room much like my own. Could there be someone in there? I hear that low growl again. Is there someone inside? I need to see. I call out, but there's no response. I open the door. A room much like my own. The bed is soaked with blood. A figure stands in the corner, perfectly still, cloaked in shadow. It does not move. I can feel its gaze upon me, yet incredibly I feel no threat. I almost feel a kind of kinship. I call out to it, but there's no response. I back out of the room and into the corridor. What did I just see? I nearly run into the nurse Boovin before I see him. Back off. Just back the fuck off. Okay, but it's me. Back off. I was leaving, all right? Just let me go. Why are you talking to me like this? Get back. Just let me pass, please. Everyone's gone. I came back to get the last of the antibiotics in the dispensary before I have to leave. Medicines will be scarce now that everything is shot to shit. I can hear his heartbeat. I can smell his fear. It's a sweet smell, how vibrant his being is, how alive. I can hear the blood coursing through his veins. I can almost taste it, taste him, his flesh, his blood. Something inside me lurches forward, baying, hungry. Something has happened, something terrible yet wonderful. I can't think about it. The world disappears. Back in my room now. I must be still in the dream because I feel so strong, so wonderfully strong. This room feels familiar, like home, like a den. I never want to leave. What have I become? My hunger consumes me. I no longer see it as something apart from me. Umbra Mortis, the shadow of death. Maybe I have accepted it. The inexorability of this disease, and thus the inevitability of my fate. For a brief moment, a whisper of that old question arises. Do I have a soul? And then the question's gone forever, I suspect. The abyss is gone. What might have been, forgotten. The memory of Anita persists, a lingering shadow in my mind, yet even Anita no longer seems to matter. And I feel no sorrow. It's just me and this eternal night. The end. That was really good. I like that one. It's kind of fucked up. Good job again, Crux. You did it again. If you guys like that, do all the things. Come back tomorrow for another video. Yeah, you can go find this on itch.io. Go download it. Go play it. Have fun. See you guys next time. Bye.